Hey, Scott from Aristocob.com here.
And Seth from SethMarkwood.com.
Together, the three of us, we are Markwood Men's Breakfast Club, and welcome to Tobacco Advent 2018, day 23. We are coming down to the end on this, boy. By the way, just a heads up, we're going to smoke through the 26th.
Yeah.
Because
Bonus!
we have unique packages from 26 people this year. We didn't do any duplicates. Thank you guys for coming through with that. That's been an amazing year this year, and we really appreciate it. So what are we smoking here?
All right, so today Bob sent, well, let me just read, there's a cool letter. It says, how do you pronounce that?
Messrs.
Markwood. Thank you for your contributions to the pipe smoking community. I recently returned to the hobby after a 4 or 5 year hiatus to cigars, thanks in large part to your Aristocob and Breakfast Club videos.
Wow.
Thanks. You helped me realize I was smoking too wet tobacco packed too tightly and rejuvenated my love of corncob pipes. Awesome. For your 2018 Tobacco Advent, I had planned to send you a favorite from 5+ years ago called Battle of Franklin. But on returning to that tobacconist, I was surprised to learn the blend I used to enjoy was just your favorite Lane 1Q. So assuming you have plenty of that, we do, see the 5-pound jar behind me, I went instead to the cigar station in Spring Hill, Tennessee, and blended my personal variation of the Hobbit Weed recipe. I varied it a bit to match the ingredients they sell. 2 parts Lane BCA, 1 part Peter Stokkebye Cherry, 1 part Lane 1Q. Despite our mutual distaste of cherry aromatics, I've really been enjoying this simple blend. I hope you will as well, but just in case, I've included a bag of W.A. Larson Signature to cleanse your palate. Wishing you and yours all the best, Bob. Bob, thank you so much. 2 things. First of all, we are grateful for the Hobbit smoke. It's always cool when someone blends their own, and so that's what we are smoking today, is your Hobbit smoke. I think in the future, we have some Hobbit's weed laying around that I think might try to do a taste test side by side and compare.
That would be fun.
Yeah, could be. And then the second thing is the other tobacco, since we have enough unique tobaccos, we will smoke it at the beginning of the year, sometime during our regularly scheduled Markwood Men's Breakfast Club videos. So thank you so much for sending this.
Hobbit's Weed takes us back because we did visit Tewksbury's in Denver, and we picked up a sample pack that had a whole variety of their tobaccos, and that was before we knew they were going out of business and that those wouldn't be available anymore. So it's kind of special to us, and we still have about half a pouch of each of those set aside.
And I'm pretty sure that was one of the tobaccos in our very first Tobacco Advent.
Sure
too.
that it was.
Because in our first Tobacco Advent, a lot of the people that sent samples were other YouTube pipe community friends that we had made at some of the recent shows, and so they're collectors, like many in the community, collectors, and they sent some really unique, really rare things, and that was on the top of everyone's list. That and Strauss Tobacconist Wenceslaus was one.
Yeah, a lot of
hard to get seasonal blends.
things. That's what they were.
And so, yeah, it kind of harkens that back. So, Bob, thank you.
Yeah, it's there's been a lot of talk, and we've talked about it before, about where some of these people have gone. And it's apparently it is the whole life cycle of the YouTube pipe. What they call them? YouTube pipe presenters. A great video that we've referenced several times is from JDIGHSX, where he did a video on the life cycle of a YouTube pipe presenter. And basically those guys and gals, they followed that exact life cycle. And many of those folks have gone away, and we see them on Instagram and a few other places on social media. But I think a lot of folks just felt like, well, I guess I've said it all. It's time to move on.
Yeah, I think for me, if I were in their position, almost all of them exclusively were single presenters to camera. I think if we didn't have this format, I would have felt the same way and run out of things to say. as the community changes over time, engagement and involvement changes over time. There definitely is an evolution that occurs.
Yeah.
We've kind of stuck with it because for us, this is a time that we get to come together and hang out. It's a good excuse for us to break from our daily routine and spend this time together and just share it with you guys. So,
Yeah.
thank you
All right.
for letting us share.
Question of the day, which, by the way, what happened to our questions?
So let's talk about that for a second.
I had a whole bouquet of questions.
You did. You may have seen yesterday we struggled because we ran into a few duplicates. And so we went through the remaining questions and discovered that we had a lot of duplicates.
There are more duplicates than what's left.
At this point, but that's okay because there are more questions left than we have days left in the month. So I'm going to pick one of these at random. Let's do this one. What is your red flag that someone isn't going to make a great friend? Go ahead, whatever that thought was, that made you go, You should share that. You have it? Okay.
I mean, I got a couple of things. I'm trying to self-edit here.
Yeah. So for me, a red flag. A red flag that someone's not going to make a great friend is that they just don't understand conversational rhythms. And I could mean that a couple of different ways, because for some people that might mean that it's all about them and there's no reciprocation.
Mm-hmm.
And to a degree it's that. Although oftentimes I find in many of my relationships I'm pulling more from them than I'm offering, asking more questions than they are generally, and that doesn't bother me. And so it's not always that. If they're only talking about themselves, it's going to be that. But then also, I've encountered people that just don't seem to listen. That's a part of missing that conversational rhythm. For me, it really comes back to conversation. It comes back to if I can't have a conversation with you, if we're just on different pages. We're not going to be able to connect. We're not going to be friends. There are people that I can have really great conversations with that I disagree on about almost every single point, personally, religiously, politically, and I would consider them a friend because we can. There's an exchange of ideas, a back and forth, even if they're totally different ideas. Being able to have that back and forth with them is key.
Okay, I would say that, and for me, there are, and these are extremes, and I can tell that if a person is over here or over here, it's not going to work out as far as a regular friendship. The one is the person where it's absolutely one way. If I have to call them every time, if I have to, remember them and invite them to things, and it's never ever reciprocated, then I hate to say that I've tested friends, but I have had friends where I said to myself, I'm going to wait for them to call me. I've got a guy that I would have considered a dear friend who I did that with, and years passed before he reached out and said anything.
Yeah.
And we reconnected, and I found out that, again, it was one of those guys that's just, he's a taker, right? Everything is about him.
Yeah.
And we all have to look out for ourselves. We all have families and jobs and life to deal with. I get that. The other extreme would be the needy person, the person who doesn't realize I have a family, I have friends, I have work and things, and that'll show up sometimes even in a passive aggressive way of, hey, why haven't you invited me for dinner, right? And Well, have you noticed that on Instagram and Facebook, I've been out of the country and out of the area, and guess what? When I get home, I got a whole bunch of people in my family I need to reconnect with. And so the reality of being my friend is it's going to be highs and lows
Sure.
of connectivity. But when I am available, I want some two-way conversation.
Well,
I text and Vox and email and call and stay in touch with a number of friends.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many friends a typical guy has. I feel sometimes like I have fewer than maybe I probably should have. But again, it's the reality that I think most of my friends are guys like me who also have those situations. I think of my buddy Briscoe, right?
Yeah.
Briscoe and I are as close as could be. And it's one of those things where a month or two could pass, and then we get back in touch together, and we pick up right where we left off. Neither of us makes the other one feel guilty that we weren't in touch with one another, and the conversation is reciprocal, right?
So I've got.
That's kind of a tough one, right?
It seemed, and in both of the situations too, I think a lot of times the really needy friends are, in my experience, have also been selfish in different ways. So like the question of why haven't you invited me over for dinner is often in the absence of them ever inviting you for dinner.
Exactly right.
You know, I was talking to a buddy recently, and he's got a friend who he considers a good friend, but is incredibly needy and is once every week or every other week saying, "Hey, you need to come. When are you going to come hang out? When are you going to come hang out? You know, I haven't seen you in a while. Come hang out." And I was at this buddy's house, and his house is like 45 minutes away from where we are and where this other friend is. And he said, you know, in all of the time I've lived here, it's been like 3 years. The needy friend has never come to my house. I'm always going 45 minutes out of my way to his house. He wants that all the time. I've never come. He's never come over here, and so I see that a lot. And I also recognize, as you say, that I am the bad friend in some of those situations, not because I'm trying to be a bad friend, but because I think I view the relationship differently than the other person. And so I've got one friend in particular who is always the one to initiate the contact. He's always the one to call because just in my day-to-day, I'm not thinking about that relationship. It's one that it's not someone I'm confiding in. It's not, you know, a deep relationship, and so I feel guilty. I feel guilty now as you say that, but it's because I think that his relationship to me is different than my relationship is to him.
You know, I've got a friend here on YouTube who really interesting because we were friends before we met each other, and I dearly love Boontar. And every opportunity that I'm going to be in Cincinnati or he's going to be nearby, we try to connect with each other. And I notice on Instagram he is connected with a lot of people that are somewhat active or were active on the YouTube pipe community. But he's one of those guys that if he were to ever call and say, "Hey, I need some help with something," yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, I would drop what I'm doing to make that happen. And he's a thoughtful friend and understands that I'm busy and can't be that guy that is. There's several guys that are part of chat groups on Voxer, and these are guys that have these big chunks of time. Boontar's a trucker. There are other guys that in their work they have these opportunities where they can just chat. It's super rare that I'm going to be able to just be in a conversation back and forth for an hour like these guys will do in a chat. And as much as I'd love to be in touch and stay that connected with people, I don't have that kind of time. But I appreciate his friendship. Jay, I mentioned Jay. I just think Jay's the coolest guy. I've enjoyed being able to actually spend time at his home and to do some things with Jay. And at the same time, he's busy. He's running a business. You know, he's got his YouTube channel where he's working on a Jeep.
Yeah.
That's a whole different part of his life where he's got friends that connect to him in that
Right.
part of his world. He's a ham radio operator. I'm not a ham radio operator. We commiserate a little bit with our pain. He's got rheumatoid arthritis, and I've got knee pain and other issues. And so we'll touch base from time to time. Hey, how you feeling? What's going on? And then we go about our business. And again, if I were needed,
Right.
I'd be there.
And that's a situation too, where when you're in so many of these different groups, you run up against that Dunbar's number that we've talked about before. That how many interactive relationships can we maintain before our brains just start prioritizing them, and it's our brains just start dumping this information, these memories, these relationships really, because we just don't have the capacity for relationships that we have for capacity for relationships on Facebook.
Yeah.
So-
Think about some of our top subscribers and top commenters. You think about Alfred, right? If Alfred lived near us, we'd be friends. We'd be doing stuff when we can. There's so many people that we comment on their videos. They come on our videos. We comment on Instagram. Hillman down in Texas. Dodif also down in Texas. I shouldn't get started listing because these are, I can't remember them all. I'll list one more, and that's Chris Morgan of Morgan Pipes. I've had a couple of occasions to hang out with him. Man, it's a shame that we don't live near each other because I really like that guy.
Yeah.
And neat family, neat business. I like entrepreneurs and business people, and he's that as well. Again, we touch base every now and again on Voxer. Jason Dagner of Dagner Pipes, same deal. I really like Jason, and I just rarely get a chance to see these guys. It's that's the downside of us connecting this way virtually is we are connected to people that we may never ever meet, and I guess we just have to appreciate what we have.
Connection we have, yeah.
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 So what do you think of tobacco? I
smoked all of it.
I went right through it.
Yeah, I smoked all of it. It was excellent.
Of course I enjoyed it because it had Lane 1Q.
That's right. Did you enjoy it as much as you would have a sample of Lane 1Q, though?
Probably not.
Yeah. But I do like the idea of us sometime in the future taking this and seeing if we can compare it directly to the Hobbit's Weed. So we diverged quite away from the original question. So in a video response or in the comments down below, answer the question, what is your red flag that someone isn't going to make a great friend? I think that's it for day 23 of Tobacco Advent.
If we made that a positive question too, what do you look for in a friend?
Yeah, it's too big, too broad. we answered the one question. So we will see you guys tomorrow.
All right,
Thanks for joining us today.
Make it a great day.
See ya.